These Shelly devices are perfect for these places. Which ones and where? I'm not only going to show you how to pick the best Shelly device for your application, I'm going to show you how to install them. The following video is powered by Shelly. In this video, I'm going to talk about smart relays. I'll be covering dimmers, LED controllers, and more over the next few videos following this one. A relay is a component that allows you to turn a circuit on or off using another separate circuit. In a smart relay, circuitry that allows you to write a program or send commands to toggle a circuit, and sometimes monitor power, is packaged with the relay itself. In order to choose the right smart relay, it's important first to know how they differ. The Shelly 1 is a smart relay with no power metering. This is because it has what are known as dry contacts, or contacts that are not connected to the control circuitry in any way. The Shelly 1PM is a smart relay with power metering, which means there's a little extra circuitry connecting the control and switched circuits, which allows the control side to measure the switch side. Practically, what this means is that the Shelly 1 can be used in applications where you may need to switch different voltages than you're using to power the relay. For instance, a 12 or 24 volt signal circuit for a garage door or HVAC unit can be switched regardless of how the relay is being powered. The Shelly 1PM or 2PM cannot do this because they're built with monitoring circuitry. Also, because they have the monitoring circuitry to provide them, the 1PM and 2PM have additional safety features. They have overheating, overcurrent, overpower, and overvoltage protections. The Shelly 1 does not. The 1 and 1PM also come in mini variants, but they have lower ratings. The Shelly 1 and 1PM are rated for 16 amps, while the 2PM is only rated for 10 amps per channel, and the minis are only rated for 8 amps. For the purposes of this video, I'll be talking about 120 volts AC unless I specify otherwise, but I want to make one last point about ratings. You may or may not know that watts can be calculated as amps times volts. However, that does not necessarily apply directly to ratings as we discuss them, or as they may be marked on components. I will briefly explain. If you drop a 5-pound weight and a 10-pound weight in a vacuum, they will fall at the same speed. However, if you drop a 5-pound weight on your shoe and it doesn't break your toe, it doesn't necessarily mean the 10-pound weight won't. Transversely, if you drop a 10-pound weight on your shoe and it doesn't break your toe, you can say it's reasonably less likely that the 5-pound weight will. In the same way, higher voltage packs more punch, which means there's a higher chance of arcing or breaking the toe that is the air gap between the relay contacts or other components. So while 120 volts at 10 amps and 240 volts at 5 amps both give you 1,200 watts, a relay rated for 16 amps at 240 volts, for all safest and practical intents and purposes, is best treated as a 16 amp relay if you're using 120. There are 4 basic common physical installation scenarios you'll most likely be looking at: behind a light switch, behind a receptacle, inside a fixture, or out in the open. You really don't want to have things out in the open if you can avoid it, but one example of a common in the open installation might be independent sections of under cabinet lighting, like I have here. Let's start with the most common and recommended place, if you can, and that's behind a regular old single pole, single throw, or SPST light switch. For those who do not speak the binary language of moisture evaporators, poles are the number of circuits you can control with one switch device, and throws are the number of paths you can choose from. The single throw is the only switch that typically has an off option. In most cases, when you're talking about residential lighting, you're dealing with one of 2 switch types: the single pole single throw I just explained, and the single pole double throw, which is used for 3-way switching. I will talk about 3-way switching and more in another video. For now, let's take a look at our scenarios, pick our devices, and then install some relays. The first scenario is one light switch connected to one light fixture. The second is just one run-of-the-mill directly wired receptacle with no switch. The third is a light switch wired to 2 fixtures. The fourth is a double gang box with 2 switches, each going to its own single fixture. And the fifth is a super secret spy project you can't know about until you've been briefed on all the other relays. So you'll just have to wait for that bit. There is more than one device that you could easily and reasonably choose per situation, but I will choose what would give the user the most control and information under the circumstances, choosing energy metering whenever possible, for instance. Starting with the first scenario, and this being the easiest, I'll choose what I think is the Shelly workhorse, and That's the Shelly 1PM. We don't have any reason here to have dry contacts, and we have a reasonable amount of space to work with inside our utility box. The one possible hangup could be if there isn't a neutral wire in your box. Before you turn any screw, and certainly before you touch any wires, always make sure the breaker is off. Don't just visually inspect the breaker, test the circuit in case you flipped the wrong breaker. And now, let's get to work. First, remove the switch plate. Then, remove the mounting screws. Pull the switch and wires as far out of the box as you can safely. And then remove the wires from the screw terminals. I leave the ground on so it's easier to manage the switch and also so it goes back in the box the same way. Trim any wires if you need to. Remember, these are going into the terminals on the relay. And then, if there are any wire nuts, replace them with Wagos. We'll need to add a neutral wire for the relay. I'll make a small wire by trimming the ends of this short section of Romex neutral. Now it's time to connect the wires to the terminals on the relay. Noting that there are 2 neutral terminals, 3 hot terminals, a switch terminal, and an output terminal. I'll cut another couple small sections of wire for the hot to the switch and then back to the relay. I will trim and bend the wires so that I can put them in the screw terminals on the switch. Try to bend the wires so that they're easier to line up with the terminals in the relay. And go ahead and wire them to one of the L terminals and the SW terminal. The L terminals are all bonded, so when you hook the wire for the hot up to the relay, you'll also be sharing it with the switch. Now, I'll move it around to the back so that it'll be easier to wire up with the wall wires and then push into the utility box. Now I'll connect the hot and then the neutral. It may take a little manipulation, but eventually I get everything into the box. Replace the mounting screws and reinstall the switch plate. And there we go. I will go over setting up the relay through its web portal for this example, but I'll use the mobile app in the next. First, on your computer or smartphone, search for the device's Wi-Fi, which will be named after the device model and sometimes generation, followed by some seemingly random characters. Next, open a browser and navigate to the device's IP address, 192.168.33.1. Click the Wi-Fi icon at the top of the page and enter your Wi-Fi credentials. I usually set a static IP address, but you don't have to. The device's ad hoc stays active, so you can see the IP after the device connects. That's it. You're ready to integrate with the platforms of your choosing. For the second scenario, we have a receptacle that we want to make smart, but no switch box to work with. Like the switch, I would go with the Shelly 1PM here. The wiring is mostly the same, but you don't have a switch to wire. First, remove the wall plate, then remove the mounting screws, pull the receptacle out as far as it'll go safely, remove the wires from the screw terminals, and then of course we'll need to add another neutral and another hot. First, I'll create a short wire to go from the output of the relay into the outlet. Then I'll create my extra neutral wire for the relay. Since this doesn't have a receptacle after, I can go ahead and use the extra screw terminals for the extra neutral wire. Connect the actual neutral wire, flip the outlet, connect the hot that will come from the relay, and now it's time for the relay after adjusting the wire positions. Next, I'll wire the hot to the 1PM mini, and then the neutral, and then I'll wire the output terminal to the receptacle. Push everything back into place. Reinstall the mounting screws, reinstall the faceplate, and we're done. Now, let's set our device up through the Shelly app. Once you're in, click the plus button in the lower right of the screen. Now, we'll choose how we want to set up our new device, and we'll use Add via Bluetooth. The app will show a list of all Shelly devices with Bluetooth enabled that haven't already been added. Select a device, then you'll be asked for your network credentials. By default, the app will disable both its local access point and Bluetooth, but you can keep one or both if you want to for any reason. Put in your credentials and tap Add Device. The inclusion process takes a few moments to configure the network on the device and verify connectivity after getting an IP address. The app will confirm the device access point and Bluetooth are disabled. Then you can name the device and choose an image if you like. I usually leave the default device pick. After tapping Next, you can assign a new or existing room. Tap Save and the app will associate your device to the local app account. After associating, the device is now added to the list and you'll be able to see its status once it syncs. You can now control the device as well as see alert notifications, internal sensor data, and an activity log, as well as set up schedules, actions or webhooks, manage an add-on if one is installed, write Shelly scripts or download them from the official script library, set up virtual components, configure network and other communications protocols and features, configure device protection limits if applicable, set app-specific device features, and share the device with a family member or friend. And that's it. I'll talk more about specific app features in another video. For now, let's move on to the next example. Here we can make use of a Shelly 2PM so we can reduce the space required for wiring. First, remove the faceplate, then remove the mounting screws, pull the switches out as far as possible, and remove the wires from the screw terminals. I'll leave the ground intact so that I have something to hold on to the switches. Now we'll need to trim any wires that need trimmed, add our neutral wire, and of course replace any wire nuts with Wagos if they are. Now we'll wire our relay. We'll wire switch 1 to SW1, switch 2 to SW2, light 1 to O1, and light 2 to O2. Carefully manipulate everything back into the box, reinstall the mounting screws, reinstall the faceplate, and we're done. In Home Assistant, go to Settings, Devices and Services, find your Z-Wave service, tap the Devices link, then add device. Home Assistant will open your camera so you can scan the device's QR code. Name the device and select an area if you want, then select your desired topology. I recommend mesh if you don't know and have at least a few other Z-Wave devices. Home Assistant will search for a while, so go ahead and close the dialog. Once the device is listed, you can go to it and you'll likely see a message telling you that the device has been provisioned but isn't included yet. This can take a few minutes. Once included, you'll be able to see and use all applicable inputs, sensors, and other entities. Next, let's take a look at installing a relay in a fixture. You may need to do this if you do not have a neutral wire at your switch position or if you want independent control of two lights that are on one switch. First, remove your light fixture. The process for this may vary, but this one just twists off. Disconnect any existing wires, and then as usual, we're going to need some Wagos. We'll create an extra neutral for our relay, wire the hot from the breaker box to the L terminal, wire the hot for the fixture to the O terminal, and of course, wire the neutral to the N terminal. Reinstall the light fixture, and we're good to go. Now that we have our relays installed, let me tell you a little bit more about them. All Shelly relays and plugs are under a 3-year warranty, which I'm pretty sure is the longest warranty I've ever seen on these sorts of things. Let me know in the comments what sort of warranties you see on other devices. I've said this before, but I want to reiterate. The primary reason I support Shelly is because I installed their relays in my house 4 years ago when my low voltage lighting failed, and those relays are still there and have never given me any trouble at all. In fact, all of my sensors and dimmers are the same way. The only things I've replaced in my system that came from Shelly, I broke doing something stupid. I think they make a strong, reliable product, and I am absolutely a massive fan of their firmware. You can have the convenience of their app without being spied on because they don't collect any data, and you also have the option to have totally local control without losing any features of the devices. It's not hard to support that. Now, before I close, I also want to briefly talk about ways of triggering your lights automatically. After all, if you're going to go so far as to install a smart relay, you might as well make it smart enough to control itself. I am a huge fan of motion sensors. There are a lot of fancy motion sensors out there, and that's really awesome if you want to pay a lot of money for the opportunity to get more exercise running around charging batteries more often. But at the end of the day, if something is moving in the room, chances are you're going to want the light on. But let's say you're not convinced the light should be on just because there's movement. Maybe you have an enormous dog that trips your sensors, and you're only worried about whether the door's been opened. Well, wouldn't you know it, Shelly's got a thingy for that. I've mentioned this before, but I hate most door window sensors. They're either unreliable or they eat batteries. I've been using this one for about 6 months, and I have no complaints. There are a few ways you can trigger your lights with these sensors, ranging from using Shelly scripting to using something like Home Assistant. I'll be covering sensors and other automation control in another video, so be sure to check that out. I'd like to take a moment to thank all viewers, members, subscribers, listeners, and attentive telepaths for your minutes. We're all allotted an unknown limited supply of minutes, and you've spent some of yours with me, and I greatly appreciate that. Time is the greatest gift anybody can give. So I hope you've learned something, and I hope you'll join me next time as I continue installing smarter circuits.